Hello and welcome back. Today we are continuing your economics exam preparation series. This is topic 8. We are discussing money and inflation. This topic appears in your exams every single year. In this lesson, you will learn the meaning of money, the functions of money, the characteristics of money, the different measures of money, the meaning and types of inflation, the causes and effects of inflation, and how to answer exam questions. Let us begin. First, what is money? Money is anything that is widely accepted as a medium of exchange for goods and services. Money is not the same as wealth. Wealth is the total value of everything a person owns. Money is a specific type of asset. Money is also not the same as income. Income is the flow of earnings over a period of time. Money is a stock of purchasing power at a point in time. Money has 4 main functions. First, money is a medium of exchange. This is the most important function. Money is used to buy and sell goods and services. Without money, people would have to barter. Barter is trading goods directly for other goods. Barter is very difficult because you need a double coincidence of wants. You must find someone who has what you want and who wants what you have. Money solves this problem. You can sell your goods for money and then use that money to buy what you want from anyone else. Second, money is a unit of account. Money is used to measure the value of goods and services. We express prices in naira or dollars or other currencies. This makes it easy to compare the value of different goods. Third, money is a store of value. Money can be saved and used for future purchases. It transfers purchasing power from the present to the future. If you earn money today, you can keep it and spend it next month or next year. However, money is not a perfect store of value because of inflation. When prices rise, the purchasing power of money falls. Other assets like land, gold, or stocks may be better stores of value. But money is the most liquid store of value. Liquid means easily converted into spending. Fourth, money is a standard of deferred payment. Money is used in contracts that involve future payments. When you borrow money, you promise to pay back a certain amount of money in the future. When you rent an apartment, you agree to pay rent in money each month. Money makes these contracts possible. Now, let me explain the characteristics of good money. For something to serve as money, it must have certain characteristics. First, durability. Money must last. It should not easily break, decay, or wear out. Modern paper money is durable enough for normal use. Coins are even more durable. Second, portability. Money must be easy to carry and transport. People need to take money with them to make purchases. Modern paper money is very portable. Third, divisibility. Money must be easily divided into smaller units to make change. The naira is divided into 100 kobo. This allows small and large purchases. Fourth, uniformity. Each unit of money should be the same as every other unit. Fifth, limited supply. Money must be scarce. If money were not scarce, it would have no value. The supply of money must be controlled. Sixth, acceptability. Money must be widely accepted as payment. People must trust that others will accept it. This is why government backing is important. Now let me explain the different measures of money. Central banks define different measures of the money supply. The narrowest measure is M1. M1 includes currency in circulation and demand deposits. Currency is paper money and coins. Demand deposits are checking account balances that can be accessed immediately. M1 is the most liquid form of money. It is the money used directly for transactions. A broader measure is M2. M2 includes M1 plus savings deposits, time deposits, and money market mutual funds. These are less liquid than M1, but can be converted into spending relatively easily. An even broader measure is M3. M3 includes M2 plus large time deposits, institutional money market funds, and other larger liquid assets. Different countries use different definitions, but the important idea is that there are different measures of money based on how liquid the assets are. Now let me move to inflation. What is inflation? Inflation is a sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services over time. When inflation occurs, each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services. The purchasing power of money falls. Inflation does not mean that all prices rise at the same time. Some prices may rise faster than others. Some may even fall. But the general level of prices is rising. Inflation is measured by the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. The CPI measures the cost of a fixed basket of goods and services purchased by a typical household. The basket includes food, housing, clothing, transportation, healthcare, and other items. Each item is given a weight based on how important it is in the average household spending. There are three main types of inflation based on how fast prices are rising. Creeping inflation is when prices rise slowly, at a rate of less than 3% per year. This is considered normal and even beneficial for economic growth. Walking inflation is when prices rise at a rate of 3 to 10% per year. This causes concern and can hurt the economy. Galloping inflation is when prices rise at a rate of 10% or more per year. This is very harmful. Hyperinflation is an extreme form of inflation. Prices rise by 50% or more per month. Money loses value so quickly that people stop using it. They switch to barter or foreign currencies. Hyperinflation destroys the economy. Now let me explain the causes of inflation. There are two main causes: demand pull inflation and cost push inflation. Demand pull inflation occurs when total demand for goods and services exceeds the economy's ability to produce them. Too much money chasing too few goods. When demand is greater than supply, prices rise. What can cause demand to increase? An increase in government spending, a cut in taxes, an increase in the money supply, an increase in exports, low interest rates that encourage borrowing and spending. Any of these can increase demand and cause demand pull inflation. Cost push inflation occurs when the costs of production increase and producers pass these higher costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices. What can cause costs to increase? An increase in the price of raw materials like oil, an increase in wages that is not matched by increases in productivity, an increase in taxes on production, a depreciation of the currency that makes imported raw materials more expensive. Any of these can increase costs and cause cost push inflation. In reality, inflation is often caused by a combination of demand pull and cost push factors. A supply shock, like a sharp increase in oil prices, can cause cost push inflation. The government may then respond by increasing the money supply, which causes demand pull inflation. The two types of inflation can feed each other. Now let me explain the effects of inflation. Inflation has many effects on the economy. Some effects are harmful. Some may be beneficial in certain circumstances. First, inflation redistributes income and wealth. Inflation hurts people on fixed incomes. Pensioners who receive a fixed amount each month lose purchasing power when prices rise. Inflation hurts savers. The value of their savings falls. Inflation hurts lenders. They are repaid with money that is worth less. Inflation helps borrowers. They repay their loans with money that is worth less. Inflation helps people with assets that rise in value, like real estate or stocks. Second, inflation reduces the purchasing power of money. This means you can buy less with the same amount of money. If your income does not rise as fast as prices, your standard of living falls. Third, inflation creates uncertainty. Businesses do not know what their costs will be. Consumers do not know what prices will be. This uncertainty reduces investment and economic growth. Fourth, inflation causes shoe leather costs. People spend time and effort trying to avoid holding money that is losing value. They make more frequent trips to the bank. They hold less cash. This is called shoe leather cost because it wears out your shoes. Fifth, inflation causes menu costs. Businesses must change their prices more frequently. They have to print new menus, new catalogs, and new price tags. These costs add up. Sixth, inflation distorts relative prices. Not all prices rise at the same time. Some rise faster than others. This makes it difficult for consumers and businesses to make good decisions. They cannot tell whether a price increase is because of general inflation or because of changes in demand and supply for that specific good. Seventh, inflation can interact with the tax system in harmful ways. In many countries, taxes are based on nominal income, not real income. When inflation pushes people into higher tax brackets, they pay more taxes even though their real income has not increased. However, some economists argue that a low, steady rate of inflation, like 2 to 3% per year, can be beneficial. It allows real wages to fall without cutting nominal wages. Workers are reluctant to accept a cut in their nominal wages, but if inflation is positive, real wages can fall even if nominal wages stay the same. This helps labor markets adjust. Also, a little inflation prevents deflation. Deflation is a sustained decrease in the general price level. Deflation is very harmful. When prices are falling, consumers delay purchases. They expect prices to be even lower in the future. This reduces demand, which causes more deflation. Deflation can lead to depression. So most central banks aim for a small amount of inflation, usually about 2% per year. Now let me explain the relationship between money and inflation. The quantity theory of money explains this relationship. The quantity theory states that the general price level is proportional to the quantity of money in circulation. The equation of exchange is M times V equals P times T. M is the money supply. V is the velocity of money, which is the average number of times a unit of money is spent in a year. P is the price level. T is the number of transactions. If we assume that V and T are relatively stable, then changes in M cause proportional changes in P. In other words, if the money supply grows faster than the economy's output, inflation will result. This is why central banks try to control the money supply. If they print too much money, they will cause inflation. If they print too little, they may cause deflation or recession. The goal is to keep the money supply growing at about the same rate as the economy's potential output. Then prices will be stable. A common exam question asks you to define money and explain its functions. Here is a sample answer. Money is anything that is widely accepted as a medium of exchange. The four functions of money are medium of exchange, unit of account, store of value, and standard of deferred payment. As a medium of exchange, money is used to buy and sell goods. As a unit of account, money measures the value of goods. As a store of value, money can be saved for future use. As a standard of deferred payment, money is used in contracts involving future payments. Another exam question asks you to explain the causes of inflation. Here is your answer. There are two main causes of inflation. Demand pull inflation occurs when total demand exceeds the economy's ability to produce. Too much money chases too few goods. Cost push inflation occurs when the costs of production rise and producers pass these higher costs on to consumers. Examples of cost push factors include higher oil prices, higher wages, and higher taxes. Often, inflation is caused by a combination of both demand pull and cost push factors. Another exam question asks you to discuss the effects of inflation. Here is your answer. Inflation redistributes income from savers to borrowers and from people on fixed incomes to those with flexible incomes. Inflation reduces the purchasing power of money. It creates uncertainty, which reduces investment. It causes shoe leather costs and menu costs. It distorts relative prices. Another exam question asks you to distinguish between demand pull and cost push inflation. Here is your answer. Demand pull inflation is caused by an increase in aggregate demand. It occurs when the economy is growing too fast. Cost push inflation is caused by an increase in production costs. It occurs when the supply of goods is reduced by higher costs. Demand pull inflation is associated with low unemployment and high output. Cost push inflation is associated with high unemployment and low output. This combination is called stagflation. Let me summarize what you have learned. Money is anything widely accepted as a medium of exchange. Its functions are medium of exchange, unit of account, store of value, and standard of deferred payment. Good money must be durable, portable, divisible, uniform, scarce, and acceptable. Inflation is a sustained rise in the general price level. It is measured by the Consumer Price Index. Demand pull inflation comes from too much demand. Cost push inflation comes from higher costs. Inflation redistributes income, reduces purchasing power, creates uncertainty, and causes shoe leather and menu costs. That is all for Topic 8. Practice explaining the functions of money. Practice identifying causes and effects of inflation. Practice distinguishing between demand pull and cost push inflation. See you in Topic 9.